I've been able to create some of the most premium looking motion graphics I've ever made, all without actually editing. The crazier part is they take a matter of minutes to make, but you have to have the knowledge to learn how to do that. And I wasted weeks of trial and error and credits to show you exactly how to do that. So let's create some premium looking motion graphics all in Claude without being a pro editor. So we're first going to start with some free uses of Claude. You don't have to have a subscription to Claude. You can literally generate these directly inside for free. So the first thing you're going to need is Claude installed onto your computer. So I'm going to go to claude.ai. Once you're on this page, go to the bottom left to get apps and extensions, and you should see a download for macOS or download for PC. Then you can go ahead and download that to your computer. And once it's installed, you'll have the Claude client installed on your computer, which will look like this. The first time you log in, it'll probably look exactly like this. All I need to do is say, please generate a clean, soft pastel.lut file for my studio YouTube videos, cinematic and clean. Let's go ahead and click send. Once it's done generating, Claude is going to give us a summary of what it just created. It created a look with lifted shadows, soft highlights, subtle teal in the shadows, and warm peach in the highlights, skin tone friendly, reduced the saturation, and it created a low contrast look for that clean studio aesthetic. If you navigate slightly further, you'll find the actual file which you can click, then navigate to that arrow and say download. Save it to your downloads or whatever other folder you want to save it to. Let's go ahead and click save. I've already generated this, so I'm just going to click replace. Now, if we navigate to CapCut, you can go to adjustment, navigate to LUT, say import, and you'll find that .cube file, which you can select and say open. That then imports it into CapCut, and you can use this for whatever project you create in CapCut. All we then need to do is click that plus icon. It's going to add a new layer to our timeline, which we can extend over our footage. And you'll see if I toggle this on and off, it's created a filter for our footage. Personally, I think this is slightly too strong, so I could stay selected on that and drag it down to around 50%. That looks wonderful. Now, the incredible thing about Claude is you can always ask it to make tweaks to exactly what it creates. So personally, I didn't really like that teal look in the shadows of this. It took away from some of that clean aesthetic. So I asked Claude to generate a brand new file, just removing that teal, and you can see the difference here. Now, if I drag this to 50%, this has created a very nice pastel looking studio look. So the next thing that we're going to do in Claude is generate animated numbers. This is great if you want a numbers counting effect like you're seeing on screen right now. All we need to do is navigate to new chat, and let's go ahead and paste our prompt. All this says is generate a .srt file for me with numbers counting from 0 to 535. Make each subtitle 0.1 seconds long and have a $sign in front of all of them. Let's go ahead and click send. Once that's done, just like we did with that LUT, go ahead and click on that file, navigate to that arrow, and let's select download. Save it to your downloads folder. What we can then do is go to CapCut and drag that .srt file directly onto our timeline. Essentially what this has done, if we zoom into our timeline, is it's created a ton of little subtitle files for us. What's amazing about this is we can customize all of them directly inside of CapCut. So let me go and highlight all of them until they turn white. We can then change things like the font size. Let's go ahead and change that font. And we can even change the color. But you can see an issue. It is way too long for our timeline. So staying selected on all of them, I'm going to create a compound clip. This groups all of our subtitles together. On this compound clip, I can then go to speed, and let's ramp up the speed to make it a lot shorter. I think I'm going to go for 10 times. Now I can reposition that to wherever I want. And if we play that, you can see that we have this really premium looking numbers counting effect. There's one last bonus trick. If I wanted to hold on 535, maybe that was the point I was making, I go ahead and double click into that compound clip to access those subtitle files. And you see where it has 535. I'm just going to drag that individual layer a lot longer. Now what I can do is go back to my compound clip and let me go ahead and drag that. So now when it reaches the end of our numbers, you can see that we have a few seconds where it pauses on 535. But we are just scratching the surface of the potential of what Claude can create. These are very basic examples. If we want to create those premium motion graphics, now we're at the right part. By the way, if you love these tricks that I'm showing you in CapCut and you want to become well-versed in CapCut, think YouTube videos, client work, your own edits, I made a complete dense course called CapCut Lab. By the end of it, you will absolutely know how to edit exactly like a pro. Check it out. It's a link in the description if you're ready to upgrade your editing. Now, for these next ones, we need something called Claude Code. So if I navigate back to Claude, if you're on the free version, you'll just have chat. If you upgrade to the pro plan, which is $17 a month, you get co-work and you get Claude Code. So we are going to need Claude Code for this next set of tricks. When you get on this page, you'll see a couple different plans. If you're doing a couple of generations a day, maybe 10, 20 generations a day, you'll be perfectly fine on the Pro plan. The reason that I upgraded to Max is I was abusing Claude to just generate as much as I could, obviously to test. And I'll explain a bit more of why I was using so much in a bit, but you will be 100% fine on Pro. I was able to generate hundreds of results and it didn't have an issue. So once you have a Claude code, you're going to need to install something called Remotion. Remotion essentially gives Claude all the knowledge it needs to create those stunning motion graphics, and you'll get a feel for how this works in a bit. But the first thing we're going to do is go online and search node.js. Click on that first result and then select get node.js. This allows your computer to run JavaScript. The next thing you're going to do is go into Claude and paste this npx create-video at latest. And what we can do is say bypass permissions. That's going to allow Claude to automatically install all the things that it needs. Go ahead and click enter. If it pops up with this prompt, go ahead and copy the code and paste that into the command bar. Now, because I already have a project installed on my computer, it's saying that you already exist with a file path with a full Remotion scaffold. Because this will be your first time installing Remotion, it's going to ask you to create a folder on your computer, and that'll allow you to save all your Remotion projects directly into that folder. If you ever get lost with this process, just tell Claude, hey, I'm not understanding what we're doing right now. Can you just help me install this? Once you're done with the actual Remotion installation, go ahead and type this prompt cd my-video npm I and go ahead and click enter. This is going to install a couple of more packages or dependencies, things that are going to help Remotion get the best possible result. You should see 562 packages installed. Because I already have this installed, it says nothing new to install. Now that Remotion is installed, it opens up a world of possibility, and honestly, you can create whatever you want. So let's start off by creating some premium motion backgrounds. What I did first is I went to Pinterest, and Pinterest is a great place because you can just type in gradient background and find a whole bunch of premium references. So I really love this blue one right here. Let's go ahead and click on that, click these three dots, and let's say download image. We're then going to go to Claude, make sure you're on Claude Code. Let's create a new session, and then I'm going to drag that directly inside of Claude. And that's going to allow Claude to see this screenshot or this image as a reference. Then I'm going to go ahead and paste my motion background prompt directly into the command bar. If you want access to all these prompts, there's a link in the description where you can access and follow along. All it's essentially saying is using the Remotion skill, turn this into an aesthetic looking motion background. Change nothing about the colors, the textures, or the way it looks. Make it a premium motion background. I also asked Claude to rotate the image 90 degrees and make the aspect ratio 16:9. The overall project should be 10 seconds long. What you're going to do, just like we did with the installation, is go to accept edits, say bypass permissions. You don't have to be on Opus 4.7, so you can go ahead and select high. And then what we can do is click enter. Now, because this is the first one, let me walk you through exactly what it's doing. You can see here it says running skill, Remotion best practices. And it says directly that it's using that Remotion skill. So if it doesn't say that, go back to that session where you were installing Remotion and just ask Claude, hey, what's going on? Why is Remotion not working? I made the mistake initially of trying to install Remotion in chat and then co-work, and then I only realized that Remotion can actually only be installed inside of the code section. So don't make that mistake. But yeah, if you followed all the steps that I showed you thus far, you should have had no problem to install Remotion directly into Claude. There we go. It is just finished right there, and it took 2 minutes and 10 seconds. What Claude is then going to do is it's going to open up your browser, and it's going to show you a preview of that file. So if we quickly analyze this, we have a 10-second file that's in full HD, or we could even change it to 4K quality, and that blue coloring of the reference looks the same. If we scrub through here quickly, you can see it's created some motion on that blue glow, and we've created our motion background. But there's something that I don't exactly like about this. If we play it at regular speed, you'll see that that blue really doesn't actually move that much. So I'm going to go back to Claude and type, please make that blue gradient move a lot faster, around 3 times more. And let's go ahead and click enter. The incredible thing about this process is that you don't have to edit anything and you don't have to know any code. You literally just have to speak English to the tool. And just like that, it's already editing the composition. And within 5 seconds, if we go back to that web browser without having to reload anything, you'll see that that orb is now moving a lot faster than it was in the first iteration. So that was motion backgrounds. This next one is something that actually has a direct correlation to a positive increase in the viewership of my videos. In almost every single one of my videos, I create a numbered list to show the viewer exactly what we're going to be talking about in the video. What I've realized is as soon as somebody can grasp we're going to be discussing these different effects, they just have a better inclination to stay and watch our videos. So let's create something that could actually benefit your video's watch time and overall success. We're going to be creating some animated motion graphics exactly like you're seeing on screen right now. So how I did this was I went onto Pinterest and I typed pull-shaped UI buttons. And what you'll start to see is some really aesthetic looking UI pulls, and the exact ones that I downloaded looked like this. Let's go ahead and create a new session into Claude, find that file that I downloaded and drag it directly into our new session. Then I'm going to go ahead and paste the prompt that I used to make that effect. And let's quickly go through this prompt. Use Remotion best practices. That tells Claude that we want to use Remotion. Let's make a clean Apple aesthetic set of 7 pull boxes. They each appear through an animation, blur in, fade in, and smooth slide up. The animation of each box should happen over 2 seconds. The boxes should animate in this order. Place these titles within them. Use the reference image attached as the design style for the box and scene. And this last line is something that you need to add to everything you create. Now, I didn't do it in the motion backgrounds because we were just getting established, but everything I create and all my prompts end with this line. Ask me any clarifying questions so we nail this spot on. Let's go ahead and click enter. And you'll see what Claude does in a second here. It understands the first part of our prompt, but there's still some ambiguity for what it's going to create. So here we go. It starts giving us a list of questions using Remotion to inform those questions that we can answer. So let's go ahead and answer these. Layout. The reference has 10 pulls in a 3-4 arrangement. For 7 pulls, do you want a single horizontal row? 3-4. Let's go ahead and stack these vertically. The next question is stagger versus total duration. Each box's animation runs for 2 seconds. Should they start sequentially with some overlap or strictly one after another? For that, I'm going to say sequential start. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all going to appear in kind of a staggered order. This next question is, should each of these 7 effects get a unique color? Yes. Icons, reference pulls have small icons on the left. 1 icon's on yours or text only. I'm going to say text only. Composition, square like the reference or 1920 by 1080p. We're going to use this in a horizontal video. If you wanted to use it in a vertical video, you could obviously type 1080 by 1920. So then it says after they appear, do they hold on screen or fade animate out at the end? I'm going to say hold and then fade at the end. I'm also going to add, while they're holding, add some motion to the pulls. Let's clarify the motion that we want. Add some subtle, smooth motion to the pulls. That's good. And for this last question, background pure black. Let's just go with pure black for now. And that's just going to be a good reference point. We're going to actually do something insane in a second. So let's go ahead and click enter. And here we go. You'll see here it's taken 2 minutes and 45 seconds and it's doing the last sanity checks. And that's another amazing thing about Claude is it kind of self-audits or self-checks what it's created. Now, obviously, we sometimes have to do some manual tweaking. This pop-up that's just shown now is actually really important because what I neglected to do for this is at the bottom left here where it says accept edits, I didn't say bypass permissions. So because of that, Claude is now asking us if it's okay to do things. It wants to check the PNG file that it created, essentially access that PNG file on our computer. So I'm going to go ahead and click always allow. Just to clarify, if you don't want those pop-ups to happen, change this from accept edits to bypass permissions. And it's just going to allow Claude to do everything that it needs to do in the background. All right, so you can see it says it's done and that took around 4 minutes to create. And if we go to our browser, you'll see that it's in a Remotion project. Let's go ahead and click play. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So this result right now is even better than the results I had when I was previously testing. You can see that all of them kind of move around in their own fashion. It's got glow attached. They look premium. It's copied the exact font and text that we wanted. Insane. The one thing I would change is this feels like it takes a bit too long to pop up. So I'm going to make a couple tweaks here. And this is how easy it is to make tweaks when there's something wrong or you want to make some changes. Let's go ahead and say this. Make the animation 10 seconds long. So I'm just going to say animate everything faster. I like the sizing already, but for demonstration purposes, let's say make everything 10% larger. change the font to Inter semi-bold. And I think other than those 3 changes, this thing is looking premium from the offset. Let's go ahead and click enter. And if we play our sequence here, you'll see that we've now created at the end here a 9-second and 29 frame composition, 10 seconds. Our font is bigger and everything is slightly larger as well. So that looks great, but this isn't going to work in our CapCut project just yet because it's on a black background. So this is when we can tell Claude, this looks great. Please make the background transparent. Don't have any transparency on the actual pills. And why I'm doing this is I want to be able to download this directly from Remotion and use it in a CapCut project. And if it's got a black background and that's what you like, perfectly fine. But I would love to overlay this on my footage or a custom motion background that we created in Claude. So that's why I'm asking it for a transparent background. So there we go. In 30 seconds, if we go back to that project, you'll see that we now have a transparent background. Once you're happy with your motion graphic, go ahead and click render. You can save that to your computer and import that file directly into your CapCut and create something that looks like this. And through these examples of the motion background and now this kind of effects pill type shape motion graphic, you now have a great understanding of exactly what Claude can do. Mind blowing. For this next one, I'm going to create an animated search bar where we have some live text displaying. What I did was I found this reference on Pinterest of this text search bar. I'm going to take that reference and paste it directly into my prompt bar. And let's go ahead and paste our prompt. What I say here is use Remotion best practices in the provided image to build a pill type rectangular box. It should have glows orbiting it. They move on the opposite sides of the box and are tracked to the outer perimeter of the box. Smooth movement circling around. And once again, you'll see at the end, I say, please ask me as many questions as you need so we can create magic. Let's go ahead and click enter. And once again, we get a series of questions. This time it puts 7 questions for us to answer to really nail down exactly what we want it to look like. I'm not going to show you how I answer all of those again. You get the point, but let me go ahead and answer them quickly. And then once we open up that project, you'll see that we have our animated text bar. So I'm going to make a couple of different changes because I don't really like how wide this looks. Also, these glows are quite intense. So let's go back to Remotion and type our changes. So let's make the pull thinner. Let's make the glows less intense. And for these last 3, I've actually given it numerical values to decrease it by. So let's saturate the glows by 50% more, decrease the size of the glows by 30%, and make the actual orb smaller by 50%. What I found was giving numerical values to the changes that you actually want, make it 2 times bigger or 3 times bigger, really helps Claude make an accurate change so you don't have to keep generating and using your tokens. I didn't do it for this first one in terms of make it thinner because I don't actually know how much thinner I would like it. And I didn't do it for the second one as well, where we just want it to be slightly less intense. And after 1 minute and 10 seconds, if we go back to our project, we can actually live preview this and it has interpreted our changes absolutely perfectly. This looks crazy. What we can then do with this, and I think this is kind of where it gets exciting, is we've built the foundation for something that we can add on. So I'm going to add to this by doing a live text search bar. Check how cool this result is. In the same project, I'm going to paste a new prompt that says, let's lock in the box design. Now add text, Montserrat font, which types into the pull. And it types, how do I create stunning motion graphics like this? Make it genuinely look like someone is typing. Mixed speed of typing, some errors, letter backspaces, and rewritten, etc. Ask any relevant questions. And if we now play our sequence, so these are only 2 examples of some crazy motion graphics. And there's 2 more that I'm going to show you. The one is this highlighting effect, and then this next is this map animation that you can use in your travel videos. I am, however, making a full tutorial of a ton of different use cases for Claude. It has taken me weeks to put together, and therefore I'm uploading it to CapCut Lab. So if you're interested to see the uses, examples, and exactly how I made them, I will see you in the lab. Link in description. This next example is the text highlighting effect. So you will actually need a screenshot of what you want to highlight. So I just took the screenshot from a news site. I'm going to go ahead and paste this prompt. I'm not going to read the entire prompt, but what I will mention, and the thing that you need to change, is you'll see in my prompt, I've actually asked it to highlight specific words from our screenshot. So in this case, I said ceasefire near ends and unclear if peace talks will resume. So if your screenshot has different words in it, specifically ask it to highlight the words that you want to highlight. Boom. Let's go ahead and click enter and see what it creates. So what you're seeing here is because we attached an actual image, Claude needs to then source that image from our computer. So I'm just giving it access to find that actual image file, that screenshot file. Now, while this creates, we're actually going to create the last animation, which is the map animation. I'm going to create a new session, and I'm simply going to paste in this prompt. I'm going to change this accept edits to bypass permissions, something I've been neglecting to do this entire session. And let's go ahead and click enter. All right, let's quickly answer these. It says which project do you want to save it in. I'm going to say create a new project. Then it says what composition specs do we want. I'm going to say 1080, 1920 times 1080p. Map style. Yeah, I'm going to say country/state borders visible. Camera behavior on the line. Follow the line at low altitude. This is going to just be whatever you want. I'm going to select B. And once I've answered those questions, let's go ahead and click enter. So now what we're doing is we're actually running two animation builds at the same time. Number one is our map. And number two is this other text chat right here, which has our text highlighting effect. So our highlight effect is completed. And for the most part, this looks absolutely stunning. I'm just noticing one thing that I want to fix. This highlight effect almost looks a little bit choppy, so I don't really like that. Let's go back to Claude. I'm going to say the highlight effect looks staggered/choppy. Please make it a smooth highlight. Enter. And that took 45 seconds to complete. If we go back to our project, you'll see that now we have a smooth highlight that highlights the words as they're being read. And lastly, if we go back to Claude and we go to our animated map project, you'll see that it says it is complete. We can go ahead and say, please open this remotion project. And just like that, our map animation is done. But there's a couple of things that I need to show you. So when it actually created the map, it gave us an error. And the reason it gave us an error was instinctually, Remotion will try and use something called a Mapbox token, which we don't actually have the Mapbox token. So when it came up with the error, I said, don't use Mapbox, use another map. It then found an open sourced map and created our effect. Because this requires a map though, we weren't able to render it the same way we usually render it. So you'll see here it says, note the Remotion map rule recommends GL and this type of code. So what I did was I said render using this code. Then it ran the render. Once it said render complete, I found the actual file on my computer, and this is what it created. Now let's make some quick changes to this. I want the map to actually be colorful, and I want to add a globe effect so it doesn't just look like a flat map. And there we go. Now, if we go to our Remotion Studio, we can go ahead and play that. And we have our animation out of Los Angeles. And it swipes over all the way to New York, and we have that globe effect with color on the water, so we don't have that black and white. If I wanted to render this, you can see sometimes the preview looks a little spotty when we're previewing it. I just go back to Claude, I'd swipe up and copy this prompt one more time. And I'd say this is great. And then we're just going to paste that prompt so that it renders to our computer. Let's give it a second. And then once it's done rendering, we can find that exact file on our computer, and you'll see that there is absolutely no issues with the rendering of that map. We simply zoom out, swipe across, and there we go. We have our globe on our transparent background. Crazy. So there are just a few examples of some of the motion graphics, the effects, the things that you can do inside of Claude. We started with the free version of Claude, just using Claude to create a chat, generating a cool LUT and an SRT, some subtitles, animated counting numbers. And then we used the paid version of Claude with Remotion to create some motion graphics that honestly, again, they just blow my mind every time. I hope you loved this video. I certainly loved making it and testing all of the things. And once again, if you're interested in CapCut Lab to see really how to become proficient and a pro at CapCut, and then some of these AI tools as they start to advance, I'm obviously going to stay up to date with the times. I will see you in CapCut Lab. And thank you so much for watching this video.